This show is brought to you by PIVX Private Instant Verified Transactions. With its groundbreaking Zerocoin staking and masternodes, PIVX is the top privacy currency. Feel free to trade some on Binance or Bittrex. And for more information, go to www.pivx.org.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of State of the Project PIVX Edition. I'm your host Cryptosi and I'm joined by 3 members of the PIVX core team. I've got 1 developer and I've got 2 community managers. Well, I've got 1 community manager and I've got a branding specialist. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce them all one by one. So first of all, I'll start with Warrows, our core dev. Warrows, how are you, sir?
Hi, I'm good. What about you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. And Rhubarb and Snappy, I guess you guys can introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, this is Snappy. Thanks for having us on.
What's up, Rhubarbarian in the house?
Okay, so I guess we already know Warrows' role, but Rhubarb and Snappy, starting with you, Rhubarb, could you just give us a quick background into what you do at PIVX?
Sure. I'm just one of the many who help out in the marketing team, originally naming and branding for PIVX, marketing, graphic design, support for ambassadors. So we're part of the global reach for PIVX and we support that. And kind of a go-to for design support and creative across the board.
Excellent. And Snappy, what about yourself?
So kind of, I guess you could say a global ambassador for PIVX, also / doing some business development work, largely out of the scenes, but there's a lot of stuff in play. So also with Rhubarb as well, we launched in PIVX Press series. So those were the video content around PIVX and keeping the community updated, as well as a run of Did You Knows and about some of the updates. So kind of have somewhat become a portal of information for PIVX.
Okay, excellent. Right, so we're going to start with you, Warrows, and what's happening on the development side of things. So am I right in assuming that the next version of the wallet is 3.2.0? Could you let me know what are the key features for that release?
Yeah, so of course there is a lot of bug fixes and performance improvements. We also have UI changes to allow people to hide orphans if they wish so. We are working also a new way to pre-compute ZPIV spends to speed up the process when you actually do it and to improve ZPIV staking. We also introduce a new block version to allow for ZDEX to run on the network. It's allowing some kinds of atomic swaps. And we should have a new protocol by Furzy for the Zerocoin on light nodes because we have to do some changes in the core wallet to allow it in the light wallet.
Okay, that sounds excellent. So those things, they're not all completed yet. So I don't suppose you have any rough idea on a time frame for when the next version of the wallet will be out?
No, I have no clue because, some of this stuff is not in the form of pull requests yet. And all pull requests have to be reviewed by several devs before they are merged. And only once everything is merged, we will start the process to put out a new version.
Okay, I've just got another question. It's regarding the budget last Superblock, last month's budget. There was an issue with the budget last month. Could you explain what happened and how it's already been fixed?
Yeah, so for what I understand about the problem, when the budget is made, there is a version of the budget going out to all masternodes where proposals are sorted and some of them have to be paid and others aren't. And at least I think it's 5% of the masternodes have to validate this budget. And for some obscure reason, an old bug from the Dash code base, the sorting was not the same between what masternodes were seeing and what was proposed to them. So they refused to vote on it and the budget did not pass.
Okay, and this has already been fixed and should be updated. Would it be updated within the 3.2 release or how would that work?
The fix is in the form of a pull request right now. It's being reviewed and it should be merged before the 3.2.0, yes.
Okay, excellent. So does this mean if we have to wait, let's say, another after the super block for 3.2.0, that the next budget will also suffer from this bug? Is it guaranteed to reoccur, or is it luck of the draw?
No, this bug has been present in the code base since Dash era, so it's a rare occurrence that it occurs. So yeah, even if we don't change the code, the chances are that it won't happen again. And if it does, I think we will be able to detect it soon enough to ask 5% of masternode owners to vote manually.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you for that, Warrows. We're going to move on to some marketing stuff now. And I don't know who I should ask this to, Rhubarb or Snappy. Wanted to ask, will PIVX be hosting or attending any events in the upcoming month? And if so, where?
Nothing is on the calendar as of yet. There are a bunch of events that are being kind of looked at. As you know, if you've been following, we had a slew of events in October and November all over the world. So that was pretty amazing to see a big, strong push in the LATAM region with events there in Brazil and Colombia, and then also in Asia with Seoul and in Portugal. And I know Snappy's been around the world in different events as well. But as of yet, I don't think anything's set on the calendar. I'm just working with a few of the ambassadors to nail down some more local regional meetups. But we are creating lists of larger events to send reps to and or, sponsor in some way so we have a presence there.
Could you tell me a little bit more about this ambassadors program?
Yeah, sure. It was really started right from the beginning when we launched PIVX. A big core value for us in the marketing team and those in core was obviously to reach a global audience. And the best way to do that is through the people that live in those regions. And so as we started to work and see people originally within the Slack community and then in Discord, some really strong Pivians rose to the top and we're doing a lot of work. And so I decided to wrap a program around a project and simply called ambassadors. So these would be brand ambassadors in regions around the world. There's about 15, 16 ambassadors at the moment. And every month we're adding, most recently one in Germany. So it's an ongoing process to establish committed, passionate Pivians around the globe to be kind of the feet on the ground, a face to PIVX, and to host meetups and go to events, and to also provide community support and management within the regional language channels. So helping with translations, translating some of the main creative into their own language and pushing it out through those regional social channels. Well, soon to be a huge army of people around the globe really making it work. And it's proven itself, especially within these last run with the conferences and meetups that have been happening, many of them spearheaded by the ambassadors.
Excellent. What we may do is in next month's State of the Project podcast, when we come back to revisit what's been actually happening within PIVX, we may get one of these ambassadors on so they can speak about their particular area, which might be quite interesting. Okay, I'll leave that with you. So we'll put that one forward for the next podcast. Snappy, I wanted to speak about PIVX sponsorships. So there's been some talk of some pretty big sponsorships already signed, which we should be seeing this month. But could you tell us a little bit about that one in particular and any other sponsorships that we've got lined up?
This podcast has been brought to you by Rhubarb Media. Rhubarb Media are the branding specialists behind successful crypto projects such as PIVX, Vendible, and Libertaria. The Rhubarb style is both loved and respected the world over. So if you want your project to appeal to techies and everyday users alike, give Rhubarb Media a try. You cannot possibly be disappointed. Link is in the description.
Yeah, gladly. And I'm going to do a quick cycle back. There is one event coming up, the PIVX Cruise. I forget the exact date of that, but there is the PIVX sponsored cruise that's coming up Q1 of 2019. So that is on the dockets right now. So as far as sponsorships, I think if folks haven't seen, PIVX is sponsoring the featherweight world champion UFC fighter, Chris Cyborg. Really, really awesome work done by John, one of the business developers for PIVX, in lining up that sponsorship. Had to keep it super secret because, as you can imagine, there was a lot of projects that would have loved to have been part of that. But Chris, actually, the team really fell in love with PIVX, and it's been a great partnership thus far, seeing her promote, cross-pollinate the social spheres about PIVX. That fight, the main fight, is scheduled, I believe, December 29th. In Vegas. So that's going to be aired at, of course, viewership. So PIVX is going to get some awesome splash time through that. So just awesome to see sort of the inroads crossing channels. You can have the crypto and blockchain purists say, well, they don't know anything about blockchain. And it's like, well, most people don't know anything about how a credit card works, and most people use credit cards. So, and celebrities endorse them all the time. They don't know how the underlying core tech works. It's awesome to see these realms being bridged right now. So as far as future partnerships, sponsorships coming up, working with a few right now. There's still the surfer in Australia, Tamara, that is representing PIVX. There's a few sports teams. There's also the robotics team, the VEX Robotics out of Canada, the children's competitive robotics team that is sponsored. And I'm working on a few, actually. One in particular, she's a female triathlete Olympic hopeful out of Australia. Actually reached out to me and said, dude, I love PIVX. Been a big fan, would love to endorse and support any way that I can. So we're working out what that might look like for her and for PIVX as well. So that's sort of on board in terms of sort of those more endorsements by, I won't say endorsements, by athletes and celebrities representing PIVX.
Excellent. Listeners may not know, but we've actually been delayed a little bit because you've been pretty busy today. Could you tell us a little bit about your daily adventures?
Yeah. So today's daily adventure, brought to you by Snappy. I got invited. I was invited actually up to. There was a summit held at the UN, Innovation and Partnerships, about making a business case for peace. So this is put on by the IPI and One Earth Future Foundations. So bringing about 60 various individuals, either from the public or private sector, in UN, in impact investments and finance and future tech. So I was actually invited up through a group, and of course, pretty much wherever I go, I'm representative of those endeavors as well as PIVX. So let me put it this way, just as a reminder for folks that you represent yourself, right? And where you go and the projects that you're aligned with, you have an opportunity to be representative of those there. So it's been a real honor to walk through some of the halls of the UN and these initiatives, and where the opportunities arise, being able to go like, oh, hey, there's a solution for that, and it's already being built, and here it is, and introduce PIVX into that ecosystem. So it's actually really interesting talking about, a privacy coin specifically at this event. Some of the offline conversations that I had with folks is, again, there's still this misnomer about privacy coins are these, dark web, dark, off-market loving, folks use privacy coins. Well, they may or may not, right? I mean, the point is, well, what does a privacy coin do, and how can it be used and leveraged? And some of the emerging, just very high level conversations that we had was, hey, in some cases, you need to deploy capital and resources to individuals on the ground to fight very, very, or I'll say combat entrenched issues. And you need to get the funds there securely as well as privately. So all of a sudden, hey, there's an immediate use case for a privacy coin. And people go, oh my goodness, I never thought about that. Like, yeah, you need to be secure in securing those assets and then deploying them on the ground. So it's been a lot of fun just to, present a container about how a coin, specifically how PIVX, a privacy-oriented coin, can be of use in the world, and especially in bringing peace into the world. So, yeah, along with that, I'll be other events coming up specifically that I'm going to. I'll be at the Nobel Peace Prize Summit next week. So I'm leaving on Saturday, representing, actually, I'll bring it up on this call, Observer, which is one of the first MOU'd, it is the first fork of PIVX that reached out and wanted to put forth an MOU for PIVX. So they're actually attending and I'm going over. So I'll be doing double duty over there, representing both the Observer project as well as PIVX.
That's amazing. It's really good to see that PIVX is starting to actually embrace and support its own forks as well. So that's a particularly good sign, I think. To move on, just before we wrap up, I just wanted to go over just a few more questions, actually. So I want to bring Warrows back in and ask him about the current state of ZDEX. It's something that people have been asking about quite a lot in our community, because ZDEX is quite a big deal for PIVX. So Warrows, could you tell us what's happening with ZDEX currently?
No, I can't, because ZDEX is a separate project and it's being worked on by different devs, so I have absolutely no insight into ZDEX directly. What I can tell you, however, is that to run on the network, it needs new block versions. It's out on a testnet, but it's not out on a mainnet yet. And we will have to wait for version 3.2 for this.
Okay. What will you particularly be working on for the next month? Is there anything in particular that you're working on or looking forward to getting stuck into for PIVX development?
I don't have any particular project I can talk about. I just put out a pull request about a new proposal tab for the UI of the core wallet. I'm always looking at others' work and reviewing pull requests.
Okay. So you were quite careful not to say that there's going to be a proposal tab in the PIVX wallet sometime soon, but that's kind of what I got from that. But I won't hold you to that. Definitely won't. Right. So Rhubarb, what about yourself? What will you be working on for the upcoming month?
Yeah, we're going to continue to push with the ambassadors and trying to get them equipped. Especially if they're going to events and meetups, we want to make sure they have the materials and things that they can use to promote and hand out. So that's going to be ongoing, including onboarding some more ambassadors in different regions. We have some fairly large gaps in the globe if you look at the map on PIVX Ambassador's site. So we're going to be going after that. The other things, we are kind of a lean and mean team at the moment. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing is supporting, announcements, event support and graphics. But we are hoping to continue to improve on some of the feature things that we put out so that people can share. Also, maybe people haven't noticed, there's been a few different sites that have popped up in support of PIVX, PIVX Central, PIVX World, and most recently, the PIVX Ambassadors website, which is kind of a daughter, sister, twin of the PIVX Places website, which is hosting all our merchants and people that are adding PIVX to their stores. So yeah, it's kind of a broad swath of activities. Also working on some potential new swag since we've been depleted with all these events, and a lot of good ideas coming down the road as to some of the swag we can provide. It's broad, but we're hoping to get back and try and find some more support for press releases, so some PR support and social media management, which has been lacking for a while. So get our lean team, continue to be lean and mean, but get some more expertise on board.
Excellent. And finally, to wrap us up, Snappy, do you want to give us a little lowdown on what you've got planned? I guess you did, but you just give us a little summary of what you've got planned for the next month.
Yeah, so got a few more world travels lined up and some events lined up specifically that I'll be attending. Also working with a bunch of the, I don't want to say partners, but projects that have been aligned with PIVX and using PIVX as a resource and ecosystem, specifically the Numo project, which is a mobile peer-to-peer payments platform. So working on continuing to expand that out, as well as some of the other initiatives that will be looking to use PIVX as sort of its core technology. So that's what I can disclose right now, other than looking to continue to keep little updates going on in the community, doing some videos, and just continuing to keep it purple.
Excellent work. Okay then, guys, Warrows, Rhubarbarian and Snappy, thank you very much for joining us, and we shall be back in a month's time with another update, just to keep everybody up to date and informed on exactly what's going on in PIVX. I've been Cryptosi, and this is State of the Project for PIVX. Thank you for listening.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Cryptosi.
This show is brought to you by PIVX Private Instant Verified Transactions. With its groundbreaking Zerocoin staking and masternodes, PIVX is the top privacy currency. Feel free to trade some on Binance or Bittrex. And for more information, go to www.pivx.org.